Hello, welcome to Henry Stewart's Creative Operations in London. I'm Martin Handyside, Operations Director of ICP, and I'm here today with Julia Arenson, Head of Creative Production at VCCP Blue. Hello, Julia.
Hi, Martin. Thank you.
In your presentation this afternoon, you talked about candor, collaboration and ownership. Can you expand on that a little?
So I talked about how candor, collaboration, and ownerships are the elements for success in your project journey. So collaboration was really about having all of your teams working together in a really proactive way. And the only way that people can collaborate is if everybody on the team owns their jobs and they're responsible for what happens next in their sort of journey. Candor is all about how we communicate with each other. So it's about being honest, considered, forthright, asking those hard questions in meetings, giving that difficult feedback. And I think actually out of both of those, candor is probably one of the hardest ones to embody because it means sometimes giving people feedback that they don't want to hear. And it means, really putting yourself on the line when you're giving them feedback. So having a good, candid relationship on your team gets you where you need to quicker, because in meetings, you just end up having people discussing the problem or the project, and everybody will start sharing their opinions, and informed opinions, not just, whatever they think. So sharing those opinions at the right time in a timely manner and having everybody contributing and making decisions because they own their projects quickly means that we can just move through all the stages much quicker and get to better work.
Okay, so improving the work. So I noticed in the presentation you talked about a kind of linear process, which I guess is a kind of simplistic way to describe it, but you also said that people would jump back on the process to go to earlier stages or even go kind of holistically round. So how does that work?
So I think at VCCP Blue, we don't really have a defined, we have a process, it's just that it's flexible. So people can jump around from different milestones as they see fit and how their team really thinks they need to for that particular project. Every project comes with its own challenges and has its own deliverables and sort of what they need at the end of the project. So a core team that's put in place on any job will make the decisions on how you jump to those milestones and who the right people are. Another really important point I talked about in my presentation was taking people along with you. So what you really want to do is make sure that all the people you're working with and their different specialisms are sort of taken along the journey and not bamboozled all of a sudden by something that needs to be done or something that needed to be done 2 weeks ago. So it's just reinforces that collaborative culture and make sure that people are owning that that journey through all those different milestones. So it can be linear, which would be amazing, but more often than not, it's just not the way the world operates anymore. And with innovation and how tech and everything's evolving, you need to have that flexibility to be able to work in a sort of more chaotic but organized environment.
So would you say there's no kind of written process at VCCP Blue, or if someone was to join you as a creative operations person, project manager, how would they understand their role?
There is, we call it a way of working. We definitely have a process. We definitely have principles, and everybody who comes in on any job, gets inducted in how that account works and how we work as an agency. And I think it's really important for them to have that groundwork so that they can organize a project really well around how we make things work really well. Because if you didn't have that sort of bedrock of how to do things, then it can't be organized chaos, it's just chaos. People need to know what they're working to be able to be creative in that environment and understand how to bring the team with them and get what they need to out of people.
Okay, because sometimes if you have a kind of formulaic process, people will use that to kind of stand behind.
Absolutely.
So the project managers are kind of helping drive that forward just to keep the motion.
I think that's a really good point, actually, because I talk with my project, well, we call them creative producers, but I speak to them and we talk about strategic project management, where it's not just moving things on. It's about thinking about what's going to happen next, who needs to be involved, what needs to be involved, and just always forward planning. So if you've got that system in place, then it kind of takes that human element, that creativity out of it, that you need to be able to move things quickly and in different ways.
Okay, does that mean there's a certain kind of person you'd need to work on your team at VCCP Blue to deliver that? And what kind of person wouldn't perhaps fit in there so well?
I've been doing it for about 8 years, and I've had different types of people on my team, and I've learned a lot about the type of person that can do this job really well. And it's not to say that not everybody can learn how to do it, but you have to be open and you have to be confident to be able to do that kind of job. The kind of people that work in my team are really self-starters. They have an entrepreneurial spirit. They are problem solvers. So they're always, thinking 2 steps ahead of everyone else. They're also really good communicators. They can gain and give information in a really informal way. It's so important to be able to communicate with people all the time, but not put it in meetings all the time. So being able to get the information you need, share the information that other people need, and part of my talk for Candor is how operations can foster that, because we have everybody's ear. We actually know what everybody's thinking. We know the truth of what's going on the whole project, because people are always the ones coming to us and talking about it. So we can always, if somebody doesn't want to be candid in a meeting, we can make that happen. That's in our gift to say, what about this? What did you think about that? And just make sure that we're helping move those things along quickly and in the right way. And sometimes it's about asking that stupid question in a meeting just to get it out of the way and say, right, we thought about that, boom, we can move that off the table, and then we can move ahead in the right way together. So.
And during your 8 years in the agency, it's trebled in size.
It has. Isn't that mad?
So what are the kind of guiding principles from your perspective that have helped make that happen?
Well, when I started at VCCP Blue, I think I probably had 3 years of experience in advertising under my belt. And I came in as probably a midway project manager that had somebody mentoring them to running a department, running our biggest accounts, and figuring out how to make things work. So it was a massive learning curve for me. And I think what I learned about how to create a good culture and help grow a company was really going from being that doer and that person who just gets things done to actually being that person who helps build people's careers and helps the people in the agency. I think that is the best thing that I've learned how to do at VCCP Blue, is how to help people grow, help them be happy at their jobs, and find out what they want so I can give them what they want so they're happier in their jobs. So I think the key to success in the work and the culture and how we work is really important. I think also the other thing was, because I started when it was really small and I had my hands in lots of different pockets, you get your hands dirty a lot, and that sort of mentality of just mucking in and doing things, we haven't lost that even though we've tripled in size. And I think that's also one of the great things about our culture, is that everybody will roll their sleeves up. They'll get what they need to get a job done. And, timings and budgets, shrinking, that kind of mentality helps move things along quicker.
In creative operations, we always talk about the 3 pillars: people, process and technology. How does that affect your work at VCCP Blue?
Well, I think the tech side of how we do things is really important. It's there almost as a support to the people and the process. The thing that's changed over the last 2 or 3 years is everything's become live. So we work in live documents that loads of people can collaborate in. And in that sense, tech has really helped us to be able to share things quicker and get to assets quicker. In terms of something like a project management system where the tech kind of is in place of a person in that communication, I haven't found something that I think works really well in place of a person. It's got to be something that you bolt in with somebody else. For me, the thing with tech is that we work in so many different ways across so many different specialisms, is that it doesn't really work for everybody in the same way, and the tech that we've found is a cookie cutter system that needs to work the same way. So if there is something out there like that people can tailor towards their needs across lots of different specialisms, and flexible and easy to use and user friendly, all that kind of stuff, then yeah, that'd be great. But I just haven't found it yet.
I think it's a continuing quest for many people.
Yeah.
We always talk about kind of logic and magic, and there was some presentation today about emotional intelligence. So logic and emotion, where does that fit into your kind of team? It feels like you're saying it's much more about that kind of emotional connection with getting things done.
I think the logic is sort of that part of the timings and the budgets and your hard deadlines and those things that you have to work to. And the magic is really how we get to all those places in the right way. I thought the emotional intelligence talk was really interesting and really on point. Not only that talked about how our own emotional intelligence can influence a job and influence other people to do what they should be doing, but also how we need to look at ourselves and make sure that in an industry that's always demanding more of us, that we're taking care of ourselves. And that's something new that we're hearing a lot in advertising. I think before it's just like, got to get the job done, you make it happen, and nothing will get in your way. So that was nice.
Can I ask what plans you have for the future in terms of expanding your team or perhaps restructuring the team?
So the plans for the future really about the team are about future-proofing the department to make sure that we can tackle anything. What's the next big thing? How do we make sure that we're innovating for our clients in the right kind of way? And how do we make sure that we've got the right people in place to do that and the ability to support them and make things happen the right way quickly? So I think that's the big next step for us, building that team that is future-proof.
And so it could scale up, double and treble, the same way as it is now, or would you perhaps change that in any way?
We're kind of at that sweet spot of about 80 people within VCCP Blue. That's not the VCCP partnership. That doesn't include any of the production partners or anything. That's core account management, planning, creative, and creative ops. And it feels like a family. We can make things happen really, really quickly with the right people at the right time. You can shout at someone across the room if you need something, pull them in when you need something. So things just happen quickly. I think if we grew, we would probably grow a little bit more, but you don't want to get too big so that you end up with a really fat hierarchy. You want to keep things flat so that we can make decisions quickly and move quickly. So hopefully we'll keep growing, but how we grow to make sure that we keep that flat structure will be imperative to the success.
Okay, cross that bridge when you get to it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Julia, for your time today.
Thank you, Martin. It's been great to be here.
And thank you again from Creative Operations London, and hope to see you again soon.